Hey, what's up you guys? Alright, I'm here today with the Orient Bambino Small Seconds. Now, if you're not familiar with the Bambino line, Orient has many different watches in the Bambino line, and it has multiple generations too, so it's a little bit tricky to navigate. The first generation movements don't hack or hand wind, and then they started reissuing a lot of the Bambinos as second generation, and that generally means they have the hacking and hand winding movement. Now, this particular model I think is first generation, but it's it was introduced much later, so this does have a hacking and hand winding movement. I initially didn't think I'd be drawn to it. I don't know if I like small second complications when I got this watch, but I got the opportunity to get it used, and I figured I would wear it, try it out, and review it for the channel. So let's go over the specifications, and then I can tell you what I like and don't like about this particular model. So this one is a 40.5mm case, not including the crown. It's 46.5 millimeters lug to lug. It's 12 millimeters thick, and keep in mind that's including that pretty massive domed mineral crystal. It's one of the really cool things about this watch. So it's quite thin, especially considering how much of it is that crystal. Unfortunately, it's a 21 millimeter lug width. Now this is not the stock strap, this is a watch gecko strap that I put on here, and you can see I cheated. It's only 20 millimeters, so you can see the spring bars a little bit. But I kind of wanted it to, it didn't come with the stock strap, and I wanted to put it on Milanese to kind of make it less dressy and kind of more everyday. And from a distance, you'd never be able to tell that this is a 20 millimeter on a 21 millimeter width, but when you get up close, you do see the gap. Obviously, if I was going to keep this, I could get a 21 millimeter version. The strap it comes on is fine. Orient dress straps they're just okay. I think if you want to keep it long term, you'd want to get an aftermarket strap. Maybe like a Barton or something like that. So I won't review this particular strap because it's not stock, but we can move on to the case back. And I'm happy to see they did a display case back. The movement, this is the F6222. It's hacking and hand winding. It's not that special to have the display case back, but you know, these are entry-level watches, and most people that are new to mechanical watches do like to be able to see the movement. And they did decorate the rotor. You can see they wrote Orient, and the movement's made in Japan, and you kind of see some of the stats, and they put some lines in there. So there is some decoration on the movement, and I think I always like to see them, even if they're pretty simple. So coming back around to the dial, now this comes in a lot of colors. This one is black. It's almost like slate. If you can see when the light catches it, it's black, but it has a little bit of like matte, almost like a super dark gray when the strong light hits it. It also comes in white, and it comes in a champagne dial. I think that's the clear winner, but since I did get the second hand, the black was what was available. And then you do have applied indices. I really like that they put the 12, 3, 6, and 9. And then in the in-between, they have these indices, and you might be able to see that they are applied, and they're beveled, and there's a line kind of right down the middle of each of them, and that really helps to catch and play with the light. It makes the dial kind of more dynamic. You have the Orient logo at 12 with just automatic written in script, a date at the 3 o'clock position, and then obviously you have the small seconds running away at the 6 o'clock position. You have Dolphin style hands, and they do have a bevel down the middle, so they catch light on the sides. They also play with the light quite well. And then you do have the minute markers for each of the minutes. That minute hand is long enough that it's reaching out to the minute markers, which I like to see. And then the hour hand is long enough that it's going to reach those hour indices. You do have the high polish kind of all around. You can see I'm smudging it up, but it's high polish all on the top, brushed on the side, and then high polish again on the case back. And then you do have a signed crown. Now this crown is kind of a cool like onion style crown. It does have the Orient logo signed on there. And this watch does hand wind, and it also hacks so this is the 0 position. The first position you can change the date, and that third position will hack the watch, which stops the seconds. Now on a small seconds, maybe it's not as important to have hacking because it's difficult to kind of read the second hand. It's more of an approximation really. But I do like to be able to set it. This watch has been quite accurate. It's probably like running about 5 seconds fast a day, but that's pretty good for this stock movement. And like I said, you also can hand wind it, which is always a nice feature. Now this is only 30 meters water resist, which is fine considering it's a dress watch. You wouldn't expect it to have water resistance. And there's absolutely no lume on the watch whatsoever. That's basically the functionality of the watch. Now, I'll tell you the pros and cons. So I'll start with the pros. What I really like about this watch is that it has the 12, 3, 6, and 9 clearly laid out. Now, that's kind of a classic, like on the Explorer, you have the 3, 6, and 9. Some of the older Seamasters, you have the same 12, 3, 6, and 9. Now, what that does is it really helps to orient the watch. So when you're looking, you can quickly kind of ascertain the time. One of the things I don't like on dressier style watches is when you just have the indice at every location, it's kind of a little bit difficult to quickly read the time. But whenever you glance at this watch, you just immediately know the orientation because of those Arabic numerals at those cardinal positions. The other thing I like about this watch is that domed crystal is really cool. It causes some great distortion, as you can see, like on the 9 and the 6 right there. So it's kind of fun throughout the day when you look down at your watch and you get those fun distortions from the domed crystal. And then with the date, so this is a plus and a con. It's a con in two ways. One, part of the thing about this watch is the dial, the symmetry is really nice with the small second right in the middle there. And then they just took all that symmetry and threw it out the window by putting a date window at the 3 o'clock position because there's nothing on the 9 to offset it. Not only that, they didn't color match it, so it's just this kind of like white hole in the middle of the dial. So one, probably no date. I'm a big date complication person. I like the date, but I could see this watch being a lot more dapper without the date there. And then if they did choose to do the date, which they did, it would have been nice to see a black date window with a white numeral there, just to kind of make it blend in a little bit better. Nevertheless, I think what they were kind of going for on this watch is kind of an everyday piece. Like, it's dressy enough that you could wear it at the office, but then it's also casual enough, especially if you put it on like a kind of a leather or take it off the leather strap and put it on something like metal, or even you could put it on like a, I forgot what they're called, but you know, some other strap to make it a little bit more casual, and then you can wear it kind of for work and after work. So I think that's kind of what they were targeting, and having the date there does make it just more practical. Generally, I think dated watches sell better than no date watches. So what I don't like about this watch is, first of all, the non-colored matching date and the kind of the inclusion of the date. Those aren't real deal breakers for me, but you know, I think a no date version of this would be cool to see. The 21 millimeter lug width is annoying. You know, like, I have a lot of straps, but almost all of them are 18, 20, and 22. So when I get that 21 like this, I kind of have to decide, do I want to invest in the 21 millimeter aftermarket strap for this? And then it's not really going to fit very many other watches. So I wish Orient would just do a 20 millimeter or 22 millimeter. Like, if they did a 20 millimeter here, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It would bring the lugs in a little bit and might make the lug to lug distance kind of long, a little tiniest bit longer, but it's 46.5 millimeters. It'd be fine. And then finally, it's kind of unsure of its identity. It's kind of a dress watch, but it's kind of too big to be a dress watch. Like, it's 40.5 millimeters, pretty big, in my opinion, to be a dress watch. It has the date. But that being said, I think if you're just looking for like an everyday watch, it's really grown on me. I thought I wouldn't like the small seconds, but because I kind of like watching the second hand sweep around, but there's something like elegant and classy about just having the two hands, and then kind of the small seconds is just out of the way. Like, it's there, you can see it's running. If you really wanted to know what part of the minute you're in, you could look down and see, but just the two hands there, it's a little bit of less on the dial, and it really draws more attention, I think, to the 12, 3, 6, and 9 with the second hand not kind of sweeping around. So actually this has really grown on me, and now I think I do like the small second complication. So I'm glad I got an opportunity to handle this watch and wear it, because I don't think I'm going to be scared off by small seconds anymore. So that is about it. Let me know what you guys think about this. Is it too big to be a dress watch? Is it kind of lost its identity with the date? I think it's actually a good deal. These are about, I think on the Orient website, they're $175, but you can get them from maybe like Joma or Creation for about $150. I think what you're getting, if you're looking for a watch, you're getting a hacking hand winding movement. I think it's worth the money for what you're getting. The finishing is well done, and the domed crystal is really cool too. I think probably you'd want to put an aftermarket strap on it, so consider that cost. But overall, it's a good package. I think all the Bambino line are kind of worth what you're getting for. It's just you got to find one that appeals to you. Luckily, they have a lot of different models, so you probably will be able to find one that appeals to you. So I'm going to throw it on for a wrist shot and let you guys see it on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. So there it is on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. You can see it's only 46.5 millimeters lug to lug, so it fits nice. It is 40.5 millimeters, but you can see that the dimensions of the watch, and kind of because of the shorter lug to lug, it doesn't wear overly large, and I think it is just a good everyday piece if you wanted to wear something that you could wear at the office, but you could also wear casually at home and on the weekends. It's a pretty good choice, and it does come in a lot of colors. I think the champagne dial is the clear knockout winner. If I had to pick one, if I was buying one new from the site, I would definitely go with that champagne dial. But the black's not bad. The only downside of the black, and this is generally true of all black watches, I wouldn't fault the Orient in this case, is it can be somewhat difficult to read sometimes, and when the light hits it just right, you can kind of lose the hands. It's one of the things I don't like about dress style watches, but not really Orient's fault here. It's just kind of true of black dialed watches in general, especially if they lack anti-reflective coating, which this one does. You can see if I get it going towards these brighter lights, you do start to lose the dial. If there's a good application of air coating, that problem almost goes away, and that makes a black dial watch really spectacular. If you ever get to see the Sarks, the black dial Sarks, not the baby grand snowflake, but the black dial one, the AR coating on that is so good, it doesn't really suffer from that problem where you can't see the dial because of the light. But that being said, I think this is a great option, and I think that's not really Orient's fault. This is an entry-level model. You're generally not going to get that anti-reflective coating on the crystal in this case. So I'll leave it there. Please, if you guys are enjoying these videos, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and it motivates me to continue. All right, see you next time.